So now that we've covered creating tables with JSON columns, let's insert some data. So below we see the create table statement from before, and the insert statement shows how we insert JSON into its column. As you can see, you insert the JSON object using the standard JSON syntax, but simply wrapped in single quotes. This particular JSON object has three key value pairs: capacity, carrier, and active. Accessing the stored JSON data is just as easy. Simply use the double colon syntax followed by the key name in the JSON object to read that value. Within the properties JSON column, we added an object with one of the keys being carrier and the value being Verizon. In the select statement, we refer to the properties column and use the double colon syntax followed by the key name, in this case carrier, in order to read the string of Verizon. Notice that the extracted string of Verizon is still encapsulated in quotes, and that's because this string is still formatted as a JSON string. Converting a JSON string into a SQL string is as simple as adding a $sign to the double colon operator. As you can see, the same select statement with the double colon $sign operator converts the string to a SQL string, which drops the quotation marks. JSON numbers and booleans are also different from SQL doubles and booleans, so converting these values are made easy as well. Simply use the double colon operator, but with a %sign to convert the value. Here we see the JSON value of true being converted to a SQL boolean of 1. And here are some code snippets with and without the %sign conversion to see the difference. Now, updating fields in JSON columns use the same double colon notation. The $sign and %signs can be used for conversions in the same way as insertion. So below, we see a select statement that converts and extracts the asset's carrier, which currently is Verizon. Then we run an update statement that sets the carrier property to T-Mobile instead. The last select statement is run to verify that the carrier property was successfully updated. So let's move over to Studio and test out some of these JSON commands. The first thing we'll do is to create a table, and for this example, we'll create a table that stores some data about humans and their favorite sports teams. So we'll have a humans ID column, which will make a primary key, a first name column, a last name column, an age, and of course a favorite teams column, which we'll type as a JSON column. So we'll quickly select all from our empty table just to view the columns we've created, and we can see that our table is ready for some data. So let's write an insert statement, and we'll peek up here to see our columns. The ID will be 1. First name will be Joseph, then Tribbiani, and we'll say he's 29 years of age. And now we'll write our JSON object. Remember to wrap the entire JSON object in single quotes and to use the curly braces to capture the object. The key will be teams. And for the value, we'll use an array since Joey is a big sports fan. And for each index in our array, we'll nest an object that has a key value pair associating a sport with the name of Joey's favorite team. So we'll start with basketball and we'll say the Knicks. And for baseball, we'll say the Yankees. For football, we'll say the Giants. And for hockey, the Rangers. So let's execute this statement. Great. And for good measure, we'll quickly add a second human. So we'll borrow James Halpert, who we'll say is 30. And being from Philadelphia, we'll make his teams the 76ers, the Phillies, the Eagles, and the Flyers. Great. So let's query our table to see our data we just inserted. And here we see in our favorite teams column our JSON objects of sports teams. So now let's query our table and see how we can read our JSON data from our JSON columns. So let's write a select statement that retrieves the first name, last name, and favorite teams columns from our table. Now, if we use the double colon operator and provide a key name, SingleStore will extract that value from the object. And here we see that the value stored in the teams key was an array. Now, if I wanted to dig into my object deeper and retrieve the football object out of the JSON array, I can now provide an index, in our case, 2. And further, if I wanted to extract the actual string of the team name Giants, I simply add another key to my key path, in this case, football, and the string of Giants is returned. Now see here that the string of Giants is in quotations, but the other strings are not. Again, this is because the value we extracted is still a JSON string, so we simply need to add a $sign to our double colon operator, and SingleStore will convert the JSON string into a SQL string. And now let's update our JSON data. For updates, follow the same syntax for updating normal columns, but just provide the key path to the JSON value you are updating. So let's update Joey's favorite football team and borrow the key path from the select statement above. We'll set his new favorite team to the Seahawks and execute the update statement. And now if we run the select statement for Joey's favorite football team again, the data will have been updated to the Seahawks.